Hello and welcome to I Am Geek. This is episode 285. My name's Ryan. I'm joined by my brother Chris, our good pal Katrin, and tonight it's a roundtable of awesomeness. So that means Ray Chase is back here with us. Animator Ray Chase. Wow. I don't know why we call you animator and we just call Chris.
TV's Ray.
That's right.
Yeah, well,
it's me, Ray. TV's Ray.
We've been gone a couple weeks because I was out of town. Yeah, I was out of town, and then I just had COVID, and it's been fun times.
It's been great. We've all had things going on.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, but we're back here.
I've had nothing. I've just been sitting around.
No,
waiting.
Not cruising.
He's
just right here. I've been right here, just waiting.
Every Thursday. I hope they call.
They'll call. I know they'll call. They said they would call.
We called. Finally.
It sounds like me in college. Didn't have cell phones then. Sitting by that daggum phone.
Oh, it's true.
Please just call.
I had a pager in college.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
I had a pager in high school.
Yeah, I had a pager in high school. Yeah, I think so.
It was drug paraphernalia.
Yeah.
It was. Even though we weren't.
You didn't
leave it in the car.
Man, now I miss a pager. That was sort of fun to have a pager.
Oh.
Mine was neon green.
Yeah. You figure out how to send messages on it, I think. Like you could send type in. Oh, anyways.
Yep.
I'm late for surgery.
Speaking of times past.
Oh my.
Tonight we're talking about Loki season 2 in all of its glory.
Yes.
All of its glorious purpose.
Yeah, that's why a lot of us have green lights or green behind us or a little Loki behind us. We're watching on YouTube, which you should be watching on YouTube at iamGEEKshow on YouTube, where you can catch us, our pretty faces and everything going on around us. You never know what's going to happen around us. I remember one time, funny story, they don't listen, so it's fine. We were doing a live and my wife's parents were staying here, and they were staying in this room. And hear the door open, and someone scurry in, and they didn't think that we could see them on the
I forgot about that
on the camera, but they were shirtless and scurrying across the floor behind me.
It was okay.
It was a man. Yeah.
Yep.
It was
like
so
from
funny.
the movie It. Like it was.
It was so
all
funny.
across the ceiling.
Funny.
Yeah, so you never know what you're going to see on our YouTube video.
That's right. Yeah.
Now he probably did what you'll listen. He's like, I started listening to your show, and
It'd be funny if that episode was about Loki, the last season.
oh yeah, it would be funny.
That would be really weird.
I would
Like
go
a
back
different
and
thread
figure
of
it out,
time.
but I wouldn't know where to go back to because there's 285 episodes. So.
Wow.
A lot of episodes.
Yeah, I thing popped up on Facebook today. That was an episode that we were doing today, I guess, and it was a tribute to Stan Lee.
Oh.
Yeah, so that was like 5 or 6 years ago.
Yeah.
Isn't that crazy?
It is
Anyways.
crazy.
I just thought I'd throw it out there because we're talking about Marvel. So
Yes.
but yeah, I can't believe it was that long ago. It doesn't feel like that. There we
We're
go.
at, yeah. Yep.
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 All right. So Loki. It's
Loki.
come. It's gone.
Loki.
It's timeless.
For all time.
It'll come again, and then you just won't know because it's like a snake eating its own tail.
Yes.
So is time. Yes. So is time. Okay. So the question before we jump into season 2, did you all remember what happened in season 1 when you started the show, or did you have to go back and be like, wait a second, what's going on?
The recap helped at the beginning.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That was helpful. Yeah, because I can remember everything.
I know. Every show, I think, especially nowadays, needs the first 5 minutes of the show just needs to be a recap of the season that happened like 2 or 3 years ago.
Yeah.
It takes so long for them to come back around.
Yeah.
Especially like Stranger Things is coming out soon, right?
No,
It
I mean
is?
they're back to filming.
They're back to filming.
Yes.
Yeah.
So that probably won't
I
be on
will.
like next year, into
Yeah.
next year, or something like that.
I have
I
no
thought-
idea. I can't remember what.
Oh,
No,
well.
the strikes.
They'll be
strikes messed
30.
it up.
I think.
Oh.
Yeah.
They'll be 30 when that comes back. Hopper's in a wheelchair.
It'll be like the 90s or something.
It seems like he's the only one that's excited about the filming. Like I've seen him like say stuff like on like, "Oh, we were so excited," and the rest of the cast is like, "Yeah, well,
I just want to
Kids
be
have
done with
moved on.
this.
we're done." All right. So yeah, so there was a recap. Basically, we left season 1 with they killed the
He Who Remains.
He Who Remains, and then everything went crazy, and then Loki was in a different TVA.
Mm-hmm.
And that's where
Mhm.
we sort of start in this one.
Yeah, but
Yes.
it turns out like at the end of the first episode, you thought he was in like a variation of the TVA, like
Yeah.
it's time to change. But in
Right.
actuality, he was in the past
Yeah.
Mhm.
of the TVA, which shouldn't be possible. But it is, but it shouldn't be possible
Why shouldn't it be possible? Tell us.
because the
Oh, Moby
TVA
Chris.
TVA is outside of time.
It exists out of
Oh.
time. Yes.
You can't time travel in the TVA.
Oh, but he
But he did.
does.
In quite a bit.
Were you
That is
confused about the first episode? Did it confuse you a little bit?
No, not for me. I don't think I
Oh,
really got
no.
confused necessarily.
That was the only detail
Yes.
that made you wonder, like, well, how's this happening? I thought
Yeah.
time didn't exist. But
Mhm.
the whole, him slipping and just, I think they did a pretty good job of him sort of figuring it out that, I
Mhm.
remember seeing this crack happen and, now I'm here and the crack's not there. So I must be before that event. And, I think we were all kind of figuring it out along with him at the same
Yeah.
time that he was kind of
Yeah.
was quantum leaping through different moments. But yeah.
A Quantum Leap reboot with Loki. I could get into that.
We're almost doing it. They do the doors. They have the doors.
Yeah,
That's
Like
true.
Al.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Yep.
Quirky sidekick.
Mm-hmm.
So, what did you initially? So, overall, did you like this season?
I liked it a lot.
Mm-hmm.
Oh yeah, yeah. I thought they did a really good job.
Yeah.
It was a nice continuation of the first series.
Yeah.
First season. I think the first season. I think there was like maybe an episode or so that kind of lulled a little bit.
Yeah.
But with this one, I didn't really feel that.
Yeah, it was kind of every episode
Good
seemed like it
pace.
was pretty tight. Like, just lots of stuff happening.
Yeah,
Oh,
and there wasn't like side quests for this season.
No.
It was basically like everything was like
Mm-hmm.
bam, 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 bam. I mean, yeah,
Mhm.
everything played into each. There wasn't like, oh, we got to go over here and save these people from their destruction, and it was all just sort of like,
Loki was a little more center stage.
Yeah.
I'd say it's like there
Mhm.
was a little Sylvie, but not so much. It was a little Morbius, but not so much. It was basically he was more the lead, where he was like doing all the things, and everyone else was sort of like ensembling around him, and
Mhm.
Mhm.
he was kind of driving everything.
Yeah.
which was a little bit different than the first season, I thought.
yeah.
Yeah.
Let's talk about Sylvie since you mentioned her.
Mhm.
What did you think about her choice of where she wanted to be?
An 80s
In
McDonald's.
Oklahoma.
Hey, that's if you're gonna pick McDonald's, at least you pick an '80s McDonald's.
Yeah, well, yeah,
Yeah.
sure.
You get the original fries,
You think, but it's just funny
Better
because
Happy Meals.
in
apple pies.
yeah, in the real world, there's not many people that would be like, my dream place to live and to do would be a fast food worker in the middle of nowhere in the 80s.
I think but that was the whole thing. Is she wanted to be in the middle of nowhere.
Yeah.
And
Oh,
be like
yeah,
as normal
it's-
as possible.
Yeah. And compared to the life that
Mhm.
she had, I mean, she was basically hiding out in apocalypses for like the last,
Yeah.
I don't know,
Yeah.
20 something years. So a nice mundane food place is probably like, this is so much better than what I've been doing.
That's what I thought was very interesting about it, that it was like she chose to sling fries at a McDonald's, and even when it, when she first got there, it was sort of like, I want to do everything. I want to try everything. You know?
But to finally be able to live a life, yeah.
So I thought it was.
Try those new McNuggets, brand new, delicious, made from animal parts, but we call it chicken.
That we know of.
I think it's kind of similar too to like how some people think, and I've thought this before. When you go and you work in a job where you've got to think about everything night and day. You don't you leave work, but you're still thinking about it, right? It's like, I want to just work at a factory job or a McDonald's at some point, and do the best I can, but I can go home and forget about it. You think about that sometimes because you just get kind of, worn out.
Yeah.
So it could be kind of like that too, where she knew she could do the best that she can. Like she was the top worker because the guy came over and it's like, hey, can you go fill the straws up? And she's like, I already did that. It's like McDonald's workers don't typically do that, right? They're like waiting for somebody to tell them to go do this thing. And
had a
she's doing her
like,
best.
I'll do it.
Yeah, she's ready to go. She's making everybody look bad, which is not what you want to do. Get in trouble, but
everyone hates her.
Yeah. So the big thing was that she got to make her choice, and nobody made it for her, and she chose McDonald's worker.
Hey,
in the 80s.
In the 80s,
better than Taco Bell. I mean,
the only thing, the only thing I
the
didn't
90s.
like, the only bad choice that I think she made about the McDonald's that she chose, especially in the 80s, it didn't have the cool McDonald's playground that most all McDonald's had in the 80s.
But it had the cool sunroom, man.
Yeah, but that
like go in there and being eat trapped and get inside really freaking hot.
Like being trapped inside of Mayor McCheese,
She didn't want to clean up all that kid grossness.
It would have been cool to see if there was like
splinters on the wooden bridge.
I would love to have one of those playgrounds. Those are cool. No, not the wooden bridge. Like before that, before the wooden bridge, you had the Mayor McCheese that you would like a jail cell that you would sit inside, or the police officer, whatever, that you would sit inside. Then you had the fry guys that you would ride, like the little spring things. That was
paradise.
Paradise. That's what I would have chose if I'd have picked McDonald's. And they had the cool Happy Meal toys. I mean, come on.
Real toys.
Yeah, real toys. Not like the junk today. All right. So that's where Sylvie is.
Yeah.
Mobius is still at the TVA. And then we come into a new character played by Short Round himself, which
he's always
amazing.
Been there. We just never saw him.
But he's always been there. Obi.
He's great.
He wrote the book. I loved this character. I want more of him. I don't care if anybody else comes back. I want more of this character because it was cool. There was a moment in the series where I thought, is he going to be the real villain? Is he going to be the big bad guy? Because I thought that would be sort of cool
if he created everything. Was he the cause of all these problems? What she was.
My son said the same thing. He was like, I wonder if he's going to end up being a variant of Kang.
Yeah.
And I was like, that'd be surprising. Nobody could see that coming.
And it could solve some real world problems too.
Yes.
In the comics, his character Obi is actually a variant of Mobius.
Oh, cool.
What?
Yeah. At the TVA in the comics, like there are several Mobiuses that work at the TVA in different roles.
Oh.
There's like Aurora Borealis and Mobius and Mr. Immortal or something. I don't know, something like that. There's like several variants of himself.
Okay, that's cool.
So there's a show called Odd Squad on PBS. Have y'all ever watched Odd Squad? Do you know what that is? So Odd Squad is a great show. It's very quirky and witty and it's a kid's show, granted, but the idea is that everybody is named with the letter O. Their name starts with O, and there's a scientist that builds these weird weapons and different things, and they have to use math and do all this. It's a learning show, but it's also to solve these problems. And I got this feeling watching the show. I was like, this is just Odd Squad for adults, because it's like he's building that thing. He's putting this together. His name starts with an O. And then they always go out and do these little missions where they're taking care of, they always have this enemy, and it's like the enemies are called like Odd Steve or something like that. But, like they have to use these weapons and math and logic to try to solve whatever the issue is. And it just, I was like, this is so funny because, again, OB, but because there's always a scientist that knows everything about everything. It's funny.
That's funny. He's dividing. Get behind something.
Yeah. Same kind of thing.
So in the first few episodes, especially the main problem thing that's trying to be solved is the time slipping with Loki.
Well, that gets resolved, I think, in the first episode.
Right. I don't remember. It all runs together. I know. There's some time. It's solved, but then it comes back later on. I guess.
Yes.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. And then he figures it out.
Yeah.
And then Obi says that's not possible.
Mm-hmm.
Blah, blah, but it is possible, but it's not possible. It's the conundrum of the TVA. He time slips all over the place. Did you guys? So at one point he time slips and he's running down the hallway, and then someone stabs him in the back.
Yeah.
Yes. He needed to
be pruned.
Prune himself in order to fix his time slipping.
Yeah. So did you when that happened? Did you like, oh, Loki pruned himself, or did you have?
No idea.
No idea.
That was my first thought. Was he?
Oh, wow.
that was another him pruning himself from behind.
I mean, it totally makes sense. After I didn't think.
You think it was
I was like, well, that's unfortunate.
The phone was ringing, and like, I don't know. To me, they set it up to where like, oh, there's a phone ringing. We're gonna see it, and they were like, look at this. Now look at this. Remember all this scenery, because we're gonna see it again.
That's right.
Yeah.
I was like, oh well, it's gonna be him pruning himself.
Because nothing really happened, right? We saw it's the setup, and then it was like, well, what happened? After he died. Yeah. Yep.
Yeah. And we saw Sylvie coming out of the elevator. Yeah. The whole series, the way it was laid out, the 6 episodes, I thought was pretty cool. It definitely redeemed some of the past Marvel shows that we've seen.
And you could tell that they had this planned. I believe since season 1. It wasn't like, we'll do season 1, we'll see what happens, and then we'll come up with a season 2 idea.
It's not a different story.
It was definitely a continuation,
right,
of what happened from the first, because it even goes back and kind of doubles in on itself. So they knew what they were doing.
Yes.
All right, let's talk about the next character, Victor Timely. We saw Victor Timely first in the post-credit scene
for Ant-Man.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
Ant-Man.
Yeah. Basically, it was just a scene from this episode that they played.
About that.
Mm-hmm.
So, what are you guys your thoughts on Mr. Timely?
I liked him. I thought he stuttered a little much. A little too much. I stutter. I can't talk, but but yeah, it was a little too much.
Yeah, a little too much.
But I did like his character though.
Yeah, and it was an interesting thing, because then they did this a couple of times where it was like, they send the book back.
Yeah.
So he gets the book, but then he's the one that wrote the book, or Obi based his research off of what he wrote. So it's like, how did this ever begin? It becomes like this thing that just exists out of time, because there's no origin to it. It just, it just always was, I guess.
Yeah. And He Who Remains set it up, because like he told
Miss Minutes.
Miss Minutes and Renslayer to deliver the book to that person at that exact time.
So that's the very confusing thing about time travel shows, movies, and stuff, because it's like, well, so that didn't like originally happen, but then they made it happen.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, because basically, He Who Remains set everything up for the sacred timeline to be on a loop, like intentionally, for that to happen, so he could remain in power. Yeah, and so it's like a continuous, like snake eating its tail. I don't know. It's very I don't know.
So he set that up. He set that up, knowing that Loki and Mobius would go back and get him to bring him where he needed to be with the knowledge he needed to know to be able to make things go the way it did.
Yeah.
So, I mean, I guess Timely becomes He Who Remains eventually.
I don't think so.
I
don't think so. I think he was a pawn used to set up a constant loop with Loki in order for him to make the decision of like, well, He Remains needs to stay in power, otherwise, like, don't really have a choice in the matter.
Right. But later on, though, with the whole, if we kind of jump to the last episode with him getting killed by Sylvie, when he's asking him, why don't you fight back? And he was like, reincarnation, baby. So it's like, well, how's he being reincarnated unless Timely? You know what I mean? Is that part of the loop? It's like, well, you can kill me, but I'm going to come back because I have this set up where all the knowledge is going to be given to my super young self, and eventually he will become me, and then this all happens again.
Or was it? Or is he saying reincarnation, meaning I've already got it set up? Loki's going to keep changing it for me until I get it the way I want it.
Yeah, I read it as like reincarnation as he's being brought back to life. He's being killed, but then he'll be brought back to life because of the loop for Loki coming back to save him.
Yeah,
from dying.
It's very confusing stuff. This time travel. Yeah. So, since we jumped ahead, because it's time travel, so we can do that. So Victor Timely, in the last episode, the last part, when everything gets fixed or whatever, and we'll get into that in a minute. He's not, because then it does a flashback where he doesn't get the book, so he's not in the TVA anymore. He just disappeared, or I don't. That was confusing to me. Like, is he still in the TVA working?
He very well could. I mean, the variants, you got to pull that in there. He could very well be, or there's a version of him that still gets the book, a version of him that doesn't get the book.
Yeah, so confusing.
Well, he does get the book. He gets the second edition.
Well, yeah, but for some reason they flash back to a scene of him as a boy, and he looks to the window and nothing drops in, and then he turns back around and continues doing what he's doing. So he doesn't get the book there. They like made that clear so that we know. The boy doesn't get the book now. Right. But there's a second edition. That was the confusing part to me. I was like, so he didn't get the book, and now he's just not in the TVA anymore? Or?
I don't think that would make him cease to exist. I would think that would make a variant.
I don't
know. No, I think he would still be out there. Like,
maybe that stops the loop. That helps stop the loop. So he's still out there, but the loop doesn't circle back around.
Maybe because of the Renslayer scene at the end too, right? Where she goes in, it's I guess the future that shows her in the future.
No, she's in the purgatory.
Oh, that's right. Okay, because they showed the sign down there, but that's right. Okay,
which I thought was cool that there was a pyramid in the background.
Yes,
which maybe he's there, and they actually.
I mean, they didn't necessarily tie everything up because even Victor Timely is like, where is he being pulled from? Is he being pulled from a branch timeline? Is he being pulled from an earlier point in the sacred timeline? They just stopped even saying which timeline they were in. Yeah. Even Morbius at the end maybe they did. Did they say what timeline he was in when he's like watching himself with his kids?
The only time they mentioned a timeline at the end was when they said we had a Kang variant in the 616
right
adjacent verse, but he was taken care of.
He was dealt with. Yeah.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Which was funny. I guess that solves some of that problem. I think that's why they put that in there.
Yeah, if Ant-Man could take him down, I mean, they don't really have anything to worry about.
Yeah.
Well, the whole thing with Jonathan Majors is, I mean, personal life aside, I mean, I like him as Kang and all of that. And, we've all been reading the rumors that, they're going to get rid of him. They're going to bring in Dr. Doom. Sure. Just recast him. And particularly when you're dealing with variants and they've shown that, all these Lokis, one's an alligator, one's a boy, one's a woman. It's like, well, the Kangs, something has happened. Don't even have to explain it. Just like with Rhodey in Iron Man. Just it's a new actor playing him.
Yeah.
I don't understand it. It's like with Star Wars. Why do we have to? Well, they'll only accept Mark Hamill as Luke Skywalker. We understand that people age. I mean, just get another actor.
We did it with Han Solo.
Yeah, it's not a huge deal. I don't understand what the conundrum. What do? We don't know what to do.
Well, I think with this show, like they may change the character, they may do something different. But for this, I saw an interview with the creator, writer, or whatever. I don't know who he is. And they asked him about some of the stuff. And he's like, listen, we wrote this show for this show, not for the MCU universe or not this or that. This is contained in our show. This is the way we wanted it to be. And basically, we don't care about what's going on in the rest of the movies and TV stuff.
It's its own thread.
It's its own thing. Because they asked about, which we'll get to, they bluntly asked him, is Loki the god of stories? Because that's what everybody keeps saying. And he was like, nope.
Oh. At the same time, how can he say that though? Because it's contained within this thing. If they have other ideas for him, then,
that's what he was saying. He's like, for us, no, he's not.
Yeah,
this is our show. This is the way we want it. That never crossed our mind. He wasn't going to be the god of stories. This is just his glorious purpose or whatever.
Yeah, he's the protector of the multiverse, basically.
Yeah. So I thought that was interesting because they basically said it wasn't like, oh, we'll see. It was just like,
oh,
no.
sure, yeah.
It's like, no,
I'm done. I'm not doing anything else for him. So it's fine.
So like as of right now, and we're going out of order, but it happens when you time slip in a podcast.
It's true.
As of right now, there are no plans for a season 3 of Loki.
Right. And I think that's probably good. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm good with that. Yeah. I don't
now I could see them. I could see them doing a TVA series or characters from TVA showing up in other instances.
Yeah, that's what I would.
I mean, one of the things that they didn't quite wrap up is what is the purpose now of the TVA? Is it really just to be on the lookout for Kang variants? Because they're not.
I think so.
They're not really trimming branches or worrying about that anymore. So
I think it's just Kangs. They're just getting rid of Kangs.
Protecting the multiverse from
Kang
outside sources.
Yeah. I would like to see the characters in different things.
Yeah.
But like Obi show up and more Mobius and I forget her name, the big security lady.
She was a number.
Yeah.
Sylvie. I mean, that would be cool.
And you could really come up with a story where you could have a villain or somebody that's multiverse jumping and committing crimes, or I don't know, murdering heroes across multiverses. That's not Kang, and the TVA now has a purpose to, hunt them down because they're equipped with that. They were doing it to a degree for eons, so now they can assist in hunting down fugitives of the multiverse or something like that.
Like Deadpool.
Yeah.
I wouldn't be surprised if we don't see Morbius in that. But
so let's talk, since we're talking about Mobius, there was it's not real, but there was theory that he's a variant of Odin.
No,
because of his two sons. One was sort of mischievous, one was not. That was a theory. I mean, it's not true. But what did you think about his person on the timeline, his character on the timeline?
I thought it was perfect. I didn't want him to be like a variant. I didn't want him to be like somebody like, oh, he's Balder that we haven't seen. Like, the other brother. Or I liked that he was just an ordinary guy. He loved his ski-doos. and I did I noticed that with the Odin variant, but I to me it's more of just kind of like a parallel to Loki's life, which was kind of nice. I thought it had a little fun Easter egg touch to it.
Yeah,
it was cool.
I really wanted a scene where he was actually on the open water riding that jet ski off into the sunset. Just two boys.
I wanted him to be Phil Coulson. I thought that'd been cool. Considering that Loki killed him in the second timeline.
Yeah.
That would have been funny.
It looked like he was like, what time was he? The 70s or 80s? 80s probably?
I thought he was like 2022 or something. A lot of them were very recent when they went to the branch timeline to see them. Yeah.
Well,
I think Renslayer was like in the 80s. I think she was like 86 or something like that.
Yeah. And
I feel like
was it Hunter B-15? That was her name. I think she was like 2019 or something like that.
Maybe it seemed like it was like the 80s.
I was going to say 70s or 80s.
80s or 90s.
I thought 90s. I thought 90s.
I'm trying to think when jet skis were really big.
Sea-doos.
Sea-doo things.
Yeah, I thought 90s. But I don't know. It could have been.
Yeah. Because the house that he lived in, the clothes that they were wearing,
right?
It all seemed like 80s, 90s.
I did like I don't remember the one guy's name, the other TVA agent.
Oh, the Alcatraz.
Yeah, I love that he was one of the Alcatraz prisoners.
Yes.
That's pretty cool.
I was like, that's awesome.
Yeah, that scene was cool with Loki showing up on the beach. Like, who are you? Because it was like such a different character.
Are you the boat guy? Where's the boat?
Yeah, where's the boat?
Yeah.
Such a different character from the character that he is in the TVA. I thought that was that was funny. Cool.
Yeah. It's like, if you guys aren't going to use this tip pad right now, I mean, I'm just going to grab it and hop over to bank real quick.
What did you think of the scene where everybody, all those characters, all spaghettify?
That was crazy.
Yeah,
it's so sad.
Yeah,
it was. It was.
It's almost like the snap too, right?
Yeah,
a little bit.
Yeah.
Well, we had noticed, like, when you watch like the end credits, there's always like little things in the end credits. And my son and I had noticed a couple of times there was a book about black holes. So he made the observation that when things get pulled into a black hole, it's supposed to like sort of spaghetti and light bends and pulls. So he was saying that when that was happening with everybody, it was like they were sort of getting sucked into a black hole. That was kind of what it was. It was kind of sucking time and erasing everything.
Yeah.
You know? But yeah, it was a little bit disturbing.
Yeah, I gotta get back to my boys.
I felt bad for the record store guy. Like that.
Oh yeah.
He even tried to go save Sylvie, and he couldn't make it.
I thought that was a really cool scene though, because she was just like, no, this is what I've chosen. This is the life that I want. And she just puts her headphones on and sits back, and then without her knowing, her world just caves around her. Which I the way they filmed that and everything, because it wasn't like she was seeing the world cave around her. The world was caving around her while she was oblivious to it, because she chose to be oblivious to it. She's like, nope, I'm not going to even look at it. I'm not going to deal with it. This is what I want.
Yeah.
And then everything just fell apart. It, whether she wanted it or not. I thought that was
McDonald's crumbled while McDonald's burned while she fiddled.
Yeah. But yeah, I thought that was beautifully done. That's another thing about this show. I liked how they filmed everything. I liked how they did everything. I thought it was sorry, very well done.
I love the art, the design of the TVA. It's like this.
Yes.
I don't know, 40s, 50s sort of aesthetic.
And that was kind of how Odd Squad is. It's like this kind of that's the thing. I mean, I'm surprised. I tried to Google it and see if I could find other people thinking that. Apparently, I'm the only one. But it's kind of the same thing. Where it's
all in Katrin's mind.
It's like the 40s.
He's got a board with strings.
That's cool. I think I've heard that.
You need to watch it. It's funny. It's like it's cool to watch as an adult, and then kids like it too. So it's it's fun. Certain seasons.
The only thing at the TVA that I thought was like, oh, that pie that they would eat. I've never seen a key lime pie look like that.
That's all they had.
You don't really want to know what it was actually made of. So.
Yeah, it's all the people that've been pruned.
All the people that got smushed in that box.
Oh, God.
Oh no!
Key lime pie is people.
Yeah, we didn't talk about that box. The really funny thing about this pie though is, in California Adventure they have Avengers Campus, and every time a show comes out, they bring out characters for a limited time, or they bring out something. So they brought that pie to the place there where you eat. And this was like right when the show was coming back on. And people were like, this pie must mean something very important for them to bring it into the real world for us to buy. What is this pie going to be in the show? Like there was all these conspiracy theories, like, what is this pie going to be? What's going on? And some people were like, it's the pruned people. It's made out of people. And the people were like, it's got to be something important. And it's like, no, it's
a Loki variant.
Just weird pie that they eat.
it's just like they made the sweet and sour sauce at McDonald's, like the packaging green.
Yeah. Yeah, so I thought that was funny. But I'm trying to think any other characters. Oh, Miss Minute. We haven't talked about Miss Minute, who turned out to be Psycho Miss Minute. That was like
to be loved.
That should be like a Halloween horror house or something.
Yeah, she was pretty awesome. I will say I did kind of miss her in the last episode. It kind of felt like there was just nothing with her really. But yeah, she was a psychotic little cartoon character.
I just want a body. I want a body so I can be your girlfriend.
I love you.
And then she turned into a ghost at one
Ghost
point.
clock.
Yeah.
Huge.
Yeah, I like that. I like that. Like she changed to be like an old timey timepiece.
Like it made it better.
Yeah.
Oh, it's just an old timey time. It's just a timepiece from our time,
right? That talks and is kind of see
black
through.
and white.
Yeah, I think that was kind of funny where people were scared of this huge ghost thing that was coming out, but it didn't feel like they were really like, oh, what is that image thing? There's a TV and all these things, right? But it didn't seem too odd to them. I felt like, I don't know.
Yeah, but the mannequin, her face on the mannequin will haunt my nightmares forever.
Yes, it will.
It was so creepy. Do you like my body?
But they did try to boot her at the end, or they did boot her at the end.
They
of the
rebooted
show.
her.
They
Yeah,
rebooted her. Yeah.
Or like, is it safe? I don't know.
I don't know. That was funny.
But again, like that stuff with her is also what led me to believe that Victor Timely would eventually become He Who Remains. And that's why she was like getting all like crushy on him, and he was just kind of like, I don't know who you are yet, because she was saying, you invented me, you created me, and we've done all of these things together. And I don't know you, lady.
So we also haven't talked about, is it Brad?
Brad.
The
actor. And there was a video game of the character that he played in the movie. I forgot the name of the character, Wolfman kind of thing.
Yeah. And it's the character he played in the movie is a deep cut Marvel character villain
okay.
that they use. Zaniac, I think it's
Zaniac. Yeah, that's it.
Oh,
And that's an actual like Marvel villain in the
Oh,
comics.
wow.
So, didn't really do anything with that, but it's just like a really deep cut villain.
So do you think that video game was real that was there then, possibly?
Yeah,
or just, I mean, they made up.
I would think so. It was just based off the movie.
I just thought of something. So, in the first season, there was a video game in that big room where all the Loki variants were. It wasn't Zaniac, was it?
No, that was an actual like.
Yeah,
like
I remember it being something real. I can't remember what it was.
Yeah, it's like an urban myth video game.
Yeah, that's right.
Cause people to go crazy or kill people or something.
Oh,
there was something like that.
Yeah, there was something weird about it. Yeah.
So I mean, it's not that confusing, but why were they
after Brad?
Why were they so obsessed with getting Brad back? Couldn't they just got the information and left him there? Because it seemed like they wanted people to be where they felt like on their timeline that they wanted to be. But him, they're like, no, you're coming back, and you're gonna. I mean, I think Brad can just be like, I know where she's at. She's over here. Okay, I'm going to go back to my life now. Instead of being like, nope, not going to tell you. I'm not going to tell you.
I think it's a typical kind of like police have their perp. They're not going to let them go until like everything's kind of resolved.
Yeah, but why didn't he just tell him and just be like, yeah, I'll I like my life here. I'll tell you whatever you want to know. And I think it was kind of go on your way.
Yeah. I think it was the typical like, hey, if I rat you out, they're going to kill me type thing. Like I don't want to.
They wouldn't have known.
How long do we think he was there? I mean, he broke protocol and then lived an entire lifetime, and they came to see him. They could have come to see him anytime.
Yeah.
Long enough to become a famous actor and make a movie.
I guess. Yeah.
That was the only character in the show. I was like, it seems a little.
Yeah, and also too in the last episode, he just kind of wasn't there anymore, and I was like, oh, I guess they decided we don't like you so much.
Pruned Renslayer, and then was like, woke up and was like, oh, I'm in a room, and I guess that's where I'll stay.
I feel like he made it hard on himself, and everybody else, Loki and Mobius, made it hard on him, and it could have been resolved a lot differently.
He's just a jerk. That's all you got to know. He's a jerk. There you go. Let people get squished in a box.
Like a jerk.
Yeah, but it didn't have to come to that. They just left him where he was.
True.
Oh well. Oh,
and I gotta say, like the box squishing, I got a little worried. Not because of what happened on the show, but because my wife kept going, Show us what happened. Why aren't they showing us what happened?
I was hoping they were not going to show. I was like, please don't cut the camera.
Like, why aren't they showing it? I want to see what happened.
Did you sleep in a different room that night?
Yeah, I was like this. I know it's October. We watch a lot of horror movies in October, but this is a bit much.
Can you not imagine what happened?
Yeah. Like I think we know what happened.
The pie is what happens. The pie,
the green pie.
So originally the whole plan was to get Victor Timely to go down this long, overly long ramp to insert the ball,
the doodad.
Yeah, the doodad that he made, which is this little ball that he carried around with him, that opens up, and he kept spaghettifying, and we find out
he was the first one that spaghettified, right?
Yes.
Just, oh my gosh!
That
was great.
Shocking.
I love that.
When they did that, I was like, so that's how they're fixing the real world problem.
Spaghetti.
I thought that was it for him. I thought, well, yep, they fixed that.
Yeah. You're like, oh crap, what do we do now?
So Loki figures out that he's going to learn all this stuff, and I really liked it. It was like, and centuries later or whatever.
Please don't. And sure enough,
like, how long will it take me to learn this? Centuries. All right.
See, during that whole bit, that's when he really was quantum leaping into himself.
Yes,
because before he was like time traveling around and landing at different points in time. There, he was just jumping into his own body. Which was
he was learning how to
travel
within himself through time.
I thought it was an awful lot like Groundhog Day when he kept doing things over and over again. Because you remember in that movie, he was trying to learn whatever it was so that he could get this girl, or get the girl, or whatever. And it was funny to me, and that's why I sent you all the image of the guy breaking the clock or Bill Murray breaking the clock. It's like, I just finished Loki.
I think that's why if he hadn't had to go through that centuries and learning all that stuff, I don't think we would have got like in the Loki world the outcome of him basically sacrificing himself.
Yes.
I think him learning through all the centuries made him understand more of what his purpose is, which we find out after he does all that, and he goes and visits He Who Remains and stops time there, and which I thought that was a cool scene. He's like, "Oh, you haven't learned how to stop time?" He's like, I learned that a century ago.
What makes you think this is the first time we had this conversation?
Yeah. Which I thought was a really cool scene. And then it turns out he has to walk down, which I thought him walking, like locking himself in, repeating the line from, is it the first Thor?
Yeah, the first Thor. I did this for you.
Yeah, which I think that was I think that was Hiddleston's idea to do.
Yeah,
that's what I read.
I thought that was just perfect. And then the scene of the whole series, season 1 and season 2, and for that matter, any recent Marvel stuff, of him walking down that path, transforming basically into the hero, was visually one of the coolest scenes I think Marvel has done in a long time.
It was amazing, because at first you're like, oh, is he spaghettifying? And then like his clothes morph into his Asgardian Loki
big horns
outfit.
I thought like I could watch that scene over and over, just visually perfect. And him like grabbing all the strands, which I thought was crazy. And then finding out his throne he did get a throne, because in Avengers, right? Iron Man says there's no throne at the end of this. There's nothing.
Oh yeah.
There's no throne for you at the end of this. And then at the end of this, it's not the throne he wanted at the beginning, but it's not it's the throne that they deserved, or whatever. What's the Batman line?
So do we think that He Who Remains set Loki up for this to be this new version of him?
I think up to a point, and then but he wasn't counting on Loki making
destroying the loom.
The ultimate sacrifice.
He to him, like, he thought he had set it up to where it was continuously where, like, he has to let He Remains live, like Loki does.
Yeah.
Not really thinking that he would sacrifice himself, because he probably hasn't seen a Loki that really had done that. And he actually, became more than what he thought he was.
Yeah. And He Who Remains, only outcome that he could see was that it was going to be this crazy war with all the Kang variants basically coming. He's like, well, nobody's going to want that.
So he set the loom up as a fail safe. It's like, you either like, save me and I fix it, or you kill me and it blows up and it like resets to my timeline anyway, and I come back. And that was, I think, the reincarnation maybe part of it. Like, the loom explodes, it resets everything.
Right.
Exactly what he wants.
So and that scene of him on the throne, holding everything together.
And then them going out and all the just forming the tree from Norse mythology.
That's pretty wild.
Yeah, I loved that.
So now I've read a couple things, and maybe you guys have too, about, because at first I was like, what? They were saying for Secret Wars, it could be a Loki Beyonder. And I read that, and I was like, what are you talking about? But then I started thinking about it, and I was like, well, wait a minute. So he's holding the multiverse together. Secret Wars comes after Kang Dynasty. What if it is a sort of Loki Beyonder, where the Kangs are running amok, and so he, who's holding all the threads of the multiverse, summons heroes from across the multiverse to battle Kangs on Battleworld. Not all the heroes versus all the villains, but basically he summons all the heroes across the multiverse to fight all the Kangs to put an end to it once and for all. I was like, that I could see happening.
I could see that, cool. And because there's been 2 Secret Wars.
It's a Secret War.
Yeah, well, there was like there was like an old one where like
the original.
That's where Spider-Man got his like black symbiote suit, and then there's a newer one that came out not too long ago, and I don't know if like it seems like they're maybe pulling from both a little bit. Because in the newer one, like I think it is more about like Kangs and Doctor Doom and trying to basically set time in their image, like conquer everything or whatever.
Yeah.
And or do that, they have to take out like the Beyonder or whoever's in charge. So
because the original Secret Wars, I remember as a kid loving it, and it was a big event, but at its core, it was kind of goofy. It was just like there was no point. The Beyonder just brought all these heroes and villains, and they were like, he was like, fight. And they fought for 12 issues, and there was really not a point to it. So
it was like a little kid pulling his toys out of the toy box and making them fight.
Basically.
And the newer one is about like, and I think is what was happening. What they mentioned with like Doctor Strange is like an incursion happening, and like 2 universes trying to coexist at once, and if they do, they both die. So you got to kill one in order for the other to survive, which is kind of what happened in the new one. And so, like, since they're using incursions and other things, that could also play into this too.
Yeah, and I think they could have him sitting there, and for people that did not watch Loki, I think they could very easily explain and set up. Maybe Thor ends up being the one that finds him. And he's like, brother. And he's like, I am not your, I am, I'm a variant. I'm a variant of the Loki you knew, and blah, blah, blah. They could very easily kind of hand wave it away. So you kind of understand that this isn't the Loki that you knew from the movies, that Thanos killed, that this is a variant of him. Because at that point, because we've seen variants already, like in movies and so forth. Like in Multiverse of Madness, there was variants of, Agent Carter and Reed Richards, and there's going to be that in Deadpool. So by the time we get to the Avengers movies, everyone should be pretty well versed in multiverse variants.
Yeah, and it seems like for the Fantastic Four movie, they are using like a different universe for
Pedro
the Fantastic Four. Like
this is the way. This is the way, Fantastic Four.
I guess.
I like Pedro Pascal.
No, I like him too. It's just like, I guess when an actor gets popular and he's in everything, it's just like, okay, because you see him as all these other characters, and he's like, oh, now he's Reed Richards too. Okay, well.
and it's really bad with Disney because they love to use the same people over and over again. Just like the guy who played Quicksilver is going to be Craven. And there's even talk about the guy that played, was it the villain from Doctor Strange?
I know you're talking about.
He might be Doctor Doom. It's just like no. There are other actors out there. I like that actor. But come on. Don't use Hannibal for everything.
I like Pedro Pascal a lot, but it's like, really? I mean,
I would either talking about Adam Driver. I'm like, really, Kylo Ren? It's not going to be Reed Richards. I guess. I mean, I would accept him too, but
I like Jim from The Office.
He was great.
Yeah, he was good.
I don't know why they're like, nah, let's not do that. Everybody wants that, but let's not. Let's just bring in the Mandalorian. I don't know why. I don't that. Anyways, back to Loki. So there, I saw a funny video. Side note, of it's like what Loki is actually doing on the throne. So he's holding on to the things, like all the different timelines. So it shoots to different timelines, and it's movies of Tom Hiddleston's movies where he plays the like love interest of like all these female Marvel actresses. It's like Scarlett Johansson and stuff. It's like, so it's like it looks so funny because it matched up with where he's just like, oh, I'm just like getting all the ladies in the Marvel universe now. It was a funny video.
Aunt May, no.
There are talks because you talked about Secret Wars and stuff. There's talks of in Kingdom the different Spider-Mans are going to play roles in these upcoming movies.
Unfortunately, we had some technical issues with this episode, so the last 15 minutes are forever lost in the timeline. We'll be back very soon on our other podcast for a Living with a Landspeeder episode, so be on the lookout for that wherever you get your podcasts. For Ryan, Chris, and Ray, I'm Katrin, and thank you for listening to I Am Geek. Bye-bye.